Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Payson. A Merry Christmas to everybody as we are exactly a week from Christmas Day. I hope everybody has a great time with their friends and family celebrating Christ's birth and what that means for us as humans. But any which way, I appreciate everybody checking us out and checking out our guest. Before I introduce him, thank you for already subscribing to the channel if you already do. And if you're not, please subscribe so you can get more great interviews, particularly local regional MMA fighters like the victorious James JT. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Luke. How are you?
I actually did not realize that your nickname was JT. James Steveson is how I know you,
Yes.
but I heard a lot of your corner calling you JT. Is that just your first name and middle initial would be my guess?
Yeah, that's my nickname. Yep.
Well, it's a very simple and yet great nickname. So James JT Stevenson, I mean DC Cormier's greatest nickname was DC. So I think a lot of times if a nickname works for you, that's great. But we got great news to get into. Maybe not quite as good news as Christmas, but still great news to get into. It's a Christmas gift to you and to your teammates and to your friends and family that you got your first MMA win. Just incredible. I'm going to kick it back to you because I know you put a lot of perseverance, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. You changed some of your training methods and techniques. You changed to different groups and different coaches. So walk me through the fight December 16th for Brawl in the Burgh 19, your third time fighting for Brawl in the Burgh. You were going in to try to get your first win and you got it. So talk me through the fight.
Well, leading up to the fight, Chris is a tough kid, you know. I know he comes from that. I think it's a judo gym at Drenning. You know, they're real grappling heavy. For my first two fights, I realized that I wasn't really comfortable on my feet, like striking. So I was resorting to shooting a lot, you know, not punching, tiring myself out essentially. So, you know, I was like, well, if I want to keep doing this, I need to be able to stand, you know, to set up a lot of things. So I got with Chris Williams for this third fight. Like right after the July fight, I linked up with Chris, and what an amazing guy he is, man. Like he helped me so much on my feet. Um, then I made the switch to the shop with the Cahills and Gavin, more or less so for personal reasons, like with work and stuff, and you know, it being a grappling gym, so that helped me a lot. Like learning from them guys, like it's high level grappling there. Like every practice was, you know, grappling with Teasdale or Tanner getting taken down by them. You know, it's like, geez. So that actually carried over to the fight. Like when Chris would take me down, you know, it's amateur, so I'm like, I'm just gonna let him mount me because I'm just gonna get a reversal. You know, I'm really not taking any damage. I mean, he has control, but an amateur, you can't punch me in the face. I really wasn't too panicking. I was actually like getting my win back when I was down there. Then, you know, I would time a reversal, you know, but back to the fight, I'm sure you heard Chris in the corner. That dude, I heard him and Tanner the whole fight. I don't know how that even happened. Like anything they said, I would just do it. I'm like, that's the first time I actually could hear my corner because I'm usually have like tunnel vision. Like I'm blocking everything out. But I would say the big reason I won that fight was working with Chris in the shop. Also working with Dominic Mazzato. I got some work with him before this fight too.
Oh, great.
So that definitely helped a lot. Having support, you know, my family, my girlfriend, you know, feels good to get the win, but I'm not happy with my performance. I know I can do better than that. So just very thankful. You know, God kept me healthy, got me through the fight, got my first win. So got my feet wet. It's gave me confidence to know I can do it. So that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, and that is incredible. It's incredible to watch. One thing I love about coming to all the 247 fights is watching people, yourself included, you know, go from a debut and build up their record for you and somebody like Craig Perry, who I know you know, neither of you guys got off to a great start, but both of you showed a lot of perseverance, a lot of willingness to improve your game. And now I'd say, you know, we've seen Craig have a great performance last time. Your fight was great. And I think what ends up happening is you develop a lot of skill because of that desire of starting off rough for you and rough for Craig. That burning desire to get a win really kind kind of pushes you to really develop your skill set. Also, really exciting that you were able to get, different coaching that, like you said, worked for your schedule, worked for what could work around you being in your job and all those things. And obviously, sometimes it is a matter of getting to a gym that can push you in your deficiencies in areas where you're not the best. And obviously, the shop 814 is super high level grappling, and so pretty exciting for you. What was the standout exchange? If it's in the cage, what was the standout exchange or standout situation in the fight that really gives you confidence, not only getting the win, but was there a moment or a situation where you did something that you wanted to do, that was trained, that was a plan, or just had a good exchange on the feet or on the ground that gives you that confidence to go forward into your next fight?
Honestly, the third round when we were against the cage and he was pressuring me and I pushed off and hit him with the right hand, we drilled that for weeks. It was like I went back and watched the film and I was like, wow, we practiced that like every day. Me and Tanner were against the wall at the shop practicing that. He's like, I know he's gonna do this. I know he's gonna do this, and it happened. So then I drilled it with my old teammate Jason Molnix. I worked with him too. Him and Jeremy Gray we drilled the same thing. He's like, I know he's gonna press you against the cage because that's what he likes to do. Disengage, the right hand was there. I would say definitely like knowing I had power in my hands, like that gives me confidence, in the cage. Like, I can stand here and bang if I need to, so definitely the striking. Again, that comes back to Chris. Without him, I wouldn't be anywhere I am on the feet. So I'm very thankful for him.
Yeah, that's incredible to see you get the win, to see you really train things both with Chris and, like you were saying, with the Cahills, that you worked a scenario that actually was useful. That's huge. And you're going to probably use that exact exchange, that exact scenario another 50 times or more,
Right.
because, and then you're going to add on more things. That's what's really great, whether it's wrestling, kickboxing, boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu, MMA, altogether, it doesn't really matter. Once you get a certain sequence or a good certain situation that you're good at, you not only keep using that, you then can add more on. Like you're saying, you now trust your hands, your striking's better, you're more confident in certain grappling situations. You mentioned, being comfortable reversing out a mount. For people that don't know, that you said it so confidently because you're so used to it at the shop, but the reality is, reversing a mount is a really high level skill. There's a ton of people that when they get mounted or even side control, that it gets really hard for them to reverse. So great stuff that you already have the confidence. Obviously, as you continue to get wins, you need a few more before you can go advanced amateur. And by that point, you'll need to have a game plan for the ground and pound. But right now, you don't have that. So you've got the opportunity to develop. And for people that sometimes say, oh, Pennsylvania has weird novice rules. They're designed to allow people to develop talents. And what's really cool is we've now been around 247, I should say, has been around long enough to see fighters go from debut to a good amateur to advanced amateur and then into the pro ranks. And so it is really cool to kind of see, yes, there are limitations in novice, but like we saw with your friend Craig Perry, go from
Right.
novice into advanced amateur smoothly and get a big win. I'm sure that'll happen to you someday, but for now, continue to add your skills. Do you have any thoughts? Christmas is important, New Year, all of that. Do you have any thoughts on the fact that 247 officially announced a date in late February and a date in late April? The late April one's back to the Meadows in Canonsburg, and the late February one is a new location in the Pittsburgh area, a little bit of a new venue, a new location. Do you have any thoughts of that, or right now is it just about celebrating your win?
Uh, Definitely April. I had to get my revenge
April.
back at the Meadows. That was my first loss there, so I'd like to get a win there.
Hey,
Uh,
there you go. Jim
yeah,
Mooney, I know Jim Mooney, the legendary matchmaker for 247, listens to these. I support everyone, and I'm encouraged by all the supporters and everybody that listens. But Jim Mooney loves when fighters can tell him or tell me or tell Hunter or Ryan like what their game plan is when they next want to fight. Maybe if you have a fighter in mind, like all that matters for matchmaking. It makes it a lot easier than him just not knowing where you want to go. So the fact that you want
right.
to aim at the Meadows is a great thing, and I'm sure that'll help Jim get an idea. He often, for people that don't know the behind the scenes, Jim is often matchmaking for a couple events in a row, because sometimes a fighter can't do, in your case, can't do February, but is aiming for April. So a lot of times he starts planning those type things. So that sounds great to get your revenge in the Meadows.
Also gonna give a shout out to Craig. He helped me with my weight cut this time, and that was a big factor in the fight too. The weight cut, the plan he put me through was perfect.
Wow.
Like the performance I had was definitely part of Craig as well. And Kama, I got a session with him before my fight too. But definitely Craig helped me a lot with the weight cutting. That was another thing I was figuring out too, is like not trying to deplete my body to, where I would seize up in the cage or, have an episode. But Craig knows his stuff, man. He definitely got me through that one. So I gotta give a shout out to him for that.
Shout out to Craig. Shout out to Kama. I saw Chaka backstage. So shout out to everybody. And that's what's cool. You've slid to other gyms, but it doesn't mean that the relationships with the Worthies or Craig is over. And it's really great. I actually love talking with Craig. He's such a great interview. Next time he's on, I'm gonna have to ask him about him being. So is that something he's into, the nutritional side of things? I actually didn't know that. Next time he's on the show, I'll have to ask him about it.
Yeah, he broke it down for me. He helped out Cowboy Eddie too. Shout out Eddie. That's my dude. I'm glad he got a win. I love Eddie. But helped Eddie out too. The cut was smooth. I didn't feel like depleted. I felt really good. I didn't feel like I lost any energy, just had to rehydrate properly. That's what I did.
And that's cool that you
So
mentioned, not only that's great that it worked for you, but that's cool that you mentioned Cowboy Eddie, because both of you are very big and muscled for your weight class. Like just off the top of my head, looking through that card, I know the commentators mentioned you being, big, strong, powerful. Obviously, Cowboy Eddie is already known for that, but that also goes back to you guys putting the work in, not only in the gym to get in shape, but also with the cut and the diet, the nutritional plan with Craig or wherever else you use that helps. A lot of times there's a lot of work that goes in to being able to be that big and strong in the cage, whether that's at your weight or Eddie's weight class. But yeah, both of you guys have a lot of skills because of your strength. But like you said, it doesn't really help if you carry weight in. That becomes a liability if you seize up and things like that. So awesome all around. Can't wait to see what you do in April, because I think the confidence, your body gets used to how it feels. So now you know what a smooth weight cut feels like, so that when you're in there, you'll kind of be able to gauge your energy a little bit, even a little bit better. So what is like the main takeaway for you as we wrap up? Is there kind of one thing that you really appreciate or remember the most from your big first win just a couple days ago?
I think I told you before I walked out, having a good mental state.
Yeah.
That was the key.
Mhm.
Having a clear mind and fighting, like that's a lot of people, the fight, they would understand what I'm talking about. Just that clear mental, you can focus on what's at task. Nothing else matters. Definitely Chris yelling in the corner. That helps too. That was motivating. So
Coach Chris
Chris,
Williams is the man. In fact, 247 did their wrap up, and Hunter and Ryan and Jim and the other Ryan all mentioned it was like a 2 hour great. It's on YouTube. It's on 247 Live for people that will really want to see the behind the scenes of the people that are so important to 247. They specifically mentioned Coach Chris Williams as being so loud. It does make it easier for you for sure. And you mentioned being focused and having that mindset. And I just had the honor of doing an interview with the main event winner, Justin the General Pat, and he talked about, having to have the mental mindset of blinders, because he fights so late in events, and he has teammates, or in this case also his girlfriend, that fought earlier, and not letting that get him like worked up and staying focused. And so it's great that you can develop that. There'll come a point where you're better and better at that blinders or focus or mindset, whatever it is. And that goes a long way. And that's one of the reasons why amateurs, I always encourage amateurs, it's not just learning what you're doing in the cage, it's learning about everything that leads up to the cage, and even recovery too. The whole process is important to learn. Thrilled that you made mental focus progress. A shout out to all the coaches and teammates, not only in your corner that drove from all over, but all the fans, everybody. I mean, an event like that, there's a lot of people that sacrificed and put a lot of hard work in to put on such a great card for 247. It was really a great end of the year event for sure.
Yes, it was. And that the new cage was definitely nice. The movement in that cage is, yeah, I like that. That was
So you
a
like
lot.
that it's a new cage, bigger. You like the ability to move around a little bit more.
Yes, yes, that was a definitely. I told Hunter actually after the fight, I was like, the cage made a difference for me. That's just me being honest. If you're ever able to move, like you're not. But at first, when I was going side to side, I was like, oh, I'm not used to this. I'm used to like the small cage. So that was nice. Like that cage is, it was a beautiful cage. I loved it. So
Well, since we're talking about logistics now with the cage, please keep in mind as you game plan that at the Meadows Casino, the Hollywood Casino at the Meadows, they will always use the small cage due to the space restrictions. So
right,
just keep that in mind. And I believe they mentioned it on the wrap up. They're pretty sure they're going to use the big cage at the February event. It's a new venue, but they're pretty sure that big cage is going in there. The big cage will always be used at Monroeville Convention Center because that thing is enormous. It's such a
right,
big venue that they like to have the bigger cage. But just keep in mind when you're training and working with Chris and the Cahills and all that going in to the next fight, if you fight in April, keep in mind your angles and your tightness is going to be the smaller cage. It's been really awesome having you on the show. Thanks so much for taking time out of your Christmas week. We're officially a week away from Christmas, so thanks for taking time
yep.
out Christmas week to jump on.
Thank you, thank you, Luke. Merry Christmas.
I appreciate Merry Christmas to you and everybody in your family. I'm Luke Payson with MMA Fancast, and we've had James JT Stevenson. Take care.
Thank you.
You got it.